I've got a affirmation that I say every morning, and I've got like a whole list of them. I was just checking my phone now, and I must have got this from you, Dr. Joe, because at the end, almost at the very end of it all, I say, my environment is a product of my internal energy. Change this, and I change the game. Now, maybe that's my paraphrasing of the kind of things you tell me, but for me, it's the end of a whole list of affirmations, which sometimes are, I don't know, maybe more quantified. But when I meditate on that at the end of the day, I always think, wow, everything you have is right inside of you and your heart. And when you open it up and when you do things for the right reasons, then all these other things come to you. And I honestly wouldn't have believed this true, Joe, until I started doing this show. And when I started doing the show and putting out all these great ideas and talking to people like you, all these wonderful things happened to me that didn't happen to me for 40 years of my life. And Joe, I'm an engineer, trained at MIT, and even I can realize correlation and causation, and something changed when I opened my heart even a little bit. So
it's a great measure of the initiation of philosophy. And why do we initiate philosophy? For the experience of truth. And not just in your brain, but in your body. You got the payoff is the emotion to show you that you are powerful. And if you've done it once, then hell, don't give up now. If you've done it once, do it again. Master that philosophy. Embody the knowledge. Embody it. Become it, in a sense. And so, wow, I mean, what an amazing time in history. I mean, we negotiated, all of us, to be here. We negotiated this, and we can't go any longer from the same level of consciousness. And you're going to see many paradigms beginning to collapse because they can't sustain themselves in this new era, and we can't react in fear because it's the very consciousness that created some of these things. We can't react in anger and frustration. It's the same consciousness. It's the same frequency. It's the same energy. We have to move above that to a greater consciousness, and that's how we unify. And look, I mean, when energy makes it to your heart, we've studied this. Once you begin to feel love and you start really learning how to self-regulate and you understand the formula and you feel that, you begin to release high levels of oxytocin. Oxytocin actually suppresses the survival centers in the brain. In other words, when you're feeling oxytocin, you can't be in survival. In fact, you can't. You can't even hold a grudge. The feeling feels so amazing that you don't want to lose the feeling, right? So oxytocin signals nitric oxide. Nitric oxide signals chemicals that causes this center right here. Just like when your sexual organs are aroused and gorged with blood and energy, this center with the same intensity opens up, but it's a different experience, a different consciousness. That same intensity, you feel that intense amount of love. When you feel that, you go from being selfish to being selfless. Now, when you feel energy here, I know this, there's only a few things you want to do. You want to give. You want people to feel the way you feel. You feel like you're so whole you don't need anything any longer. Once energy makes it here, it's got to move up to the brain. I just saw the beautiful studies that we did in one of our events last month. Once there's energy going to the brain, oh my God, it passes through this area here, and you got to express it. You gotta vocalize it. You got to be able to let it out and articulate it. So then, if human beings then move from selfish to selfless, and you get hundreds of thousands of people doing this, and everybody's giving to everybody else because they feel whole and they're in a creative state, we're going to come up with solutions from a greater level of consciousness that we have never considered. So, wow, we're waking up and we can't go back to doing things the same. And the whole world is on pause. What a great opportunity for the earth to recover a little bit. What a great opportunity for families to unite again. What a great opportunity for people to appreciate the simple things again. What a great opportunity to teach your children one-on-one because you have the time with them. What a great opportunity to really sit down and learn and read something and have it make sense to you and really embody it and think about what you're going to do with it. What a great time to be in a retreat. So many people have secretly said, I don't really want to go to work today. They've dreamt about that for years. Now they have the opportunity to not go to working from home. Whatever, that's everybody's dream. You could get up, you could do your thing, you have a cup of coffee, you take a walk, take a break, you're in the comfort of your own home. So many people in our events secretly want to do their have a retreat in their own home. Well, we did an online retreat for thousands and thousands, over 15, 16,000 people a couple of weeks ago, so that people could be in their own home and retreat. Well, why not? So the question is, are you going to change into something greater, or are you going to stay the same and wait for it to change so that you're relieved in separation or lack? And yeah, it's not easy, and it doesn't feel natural. But if you're after supernatural and you believe in potential, then we have to start doing what feels unnatural. And people are starting to do this and seeing that they're empowering themselves in their lives. So we are wired to give. We are wired to serve. We are wired to inform. We are wired to support, to encourage, to inspire. We are wired to heal one another. We are wired to show each other what's possible. This is when a collective species, a living organism, all of a sudden starts to unify and does something greater. And we got to just go to a greater consciousness. And as above, so below, as within, so without. And this is what's in front of us. And I don't care whatever the causation, where it came from, I don't care any of that stuff. What I care about is what we're going to do about it. And there's no real other alternative for people when you start realizing that you can control your emotions, you can control your physiology, that you're the creator, you can think outside the box, you should become inspired. Well, look, I mean, I'm not the type of person that's metaphysical in any way. I do two things. I devour information and science, and I build models, and then I apply them to have my own experience. And my experience tells me that there's more to this three-dimensional world, more to reality that meets the eye. And it's been a feeling that I've had from the time I was a child, and that feeling has never gone away. Sure, it's come and gone. Most people have had that feeling that are watching this show, as I said. So in every religion that I've looked at, and I've looked at a lot of them to try to piece this thing together, I think there's just maybe one or two religions that don't talk about you as an individual being eternal. Whether you're going to heaven, you're going there forever. If you're going to hell, you're stuck there forever. If you're on the wheel of karma, you're on that wheel forever. When you reach nirvana, you're there forever. I mean, the bottom line is, you're stuck with you forever. We're stuck with you for all of eternity. So if you believe that, then what type of legacy? When we were at Singularity and Source, we thought, is there more than just oneness? Is there anything else but oneness? And the moment you ask that question, impossibility, you become something other than oneness. Now you're not one, you're aware that you're separate from one. And this is how we fell down into density. But our journey then is to prove to ourselves that there is more to reality. So I have had wonderful moments where I've moved from this realm called space-time, three-dimensional reality, into this realm called time-space, where I've experienced another aspect of myself that is not this person, this identity. But I understood who I was, and it kind of changes my view about that we're not linear beings, isolated in linear time. We're dimensional beings, living a dimensional life. And I think that's one of the biggest lies that we've been served, that we are, individuals that experience this one moment in time because we don't remember. Well, going from the philosophical understanding that you're eternal and that there's some savior that's going to save you, we have to change our view about death, because I'm not even sure that what people have been told about death is the truth. I mean, again, when you move to this realm where you experience other dimensions, you realize that there are many houses, many dimensions that you can travel through time and experience. And for me, wow, I have one of those moments where I realize that I'm not Joe Dispenza in linear time. The next probable question is, who am I? And asking that question takes you out of the philosophical realm, out of the realm of, oh, I'm eternal, and just espousing that. But making the attempt to really experience the truth of that. So you have a little bit of that, and you overcome the fear that you have to die and go to this light and get your information or review your life. Okay, that's important. You know, the soul needs to see how far it's come and what its limitations are from a greater level of consciousness. That's an option. Another option, you could surrender to a deity, some consciousness of some being, and you're locked into that consciousness, into that world. It's not yours, it's somebody else's. Or you can go to that realm where you dissociate from everything, that vacuum of void of anything material, and ask that same question: who am I? And the experiences that I've had, and some of the people that have had those experiences, are all of a sudden transcendent of linear time, and the whole game changes. So the mystical experience then of showing you that you're more than Brian Rose is going to take you to get beyond your experience of Brian in order to get there. And there are latent systems in the brain that we've isolated that, when activated, turns on your access to frequency and information that gives you a little bit more of the belief that you're eternal. And so some people have a fear of death because they think it's the end, because that's how I've been programmed. And some people have a fear of suffering because suffering means death, and they don't know how to get out of their suffering state. So when they hear information, their brain naturally goes to the worst outcome, and they begin to experience the emotion of that future before it occurs. And they're basically programming themselves for death by doing that. So again, I mean, we never have this conversation when the environment is doing well, and you know, there's prosperity and financial growth, and this never would come up until people actually realize, okay, take away your cell phone, take away your computer, take away your car, take away your stove, your refrigerator, your washing machine, take away your couch, take away all the things that have been created by some other inventor, by somebody else. How resourceful are you? I mean, what do you got? I mean, what can you do? And now, all of a sudden, maybe it has to get so intense that we have to start believing in these principles more than ever. And if that's all we get out of this and everything returns back to normal by the fall, I would say then we would look each other in the eye with a little bit more compassion. We would be less likely to judge another person. We wouldn't see their skin color. We would see the divine in them. We would make an effort to forgive. We would make an effort to connect every day. We'd make an effort to ask ourselves, who do I want to emerge as this eternal being? Whose life can I change? Whose mind could I help change? Whose heart could I open? How could I give? How could I make a difference? And you got enough people doing that, you're less reliant on a government. You're less reliant on a doctor. You're less reliant on a teacher. You're less reliant on anybody. And now something else begins to happen. So eternity and death is just another programmed belief that we have to work on changing. That's based on an interpretation of mostly men in religion trying to come up with an understanding of it. And wow, times have changed in the last 2,000 or 5,000 years. We're having conversations that we would never have before. And information is one element. You don't need any authority to gain information. You have technology. You just got to discern what information you want to fill your brain with. By the same means, what a crazy time with solar flares and all this energy and the end of these different cycles, and there's a change in frequency, and that frequency is disturbing everybody's nervous system. It's a cataclysmic time of awakening, and you can't go back to business as usual. You can't go back to the things will never be the same.